February 9th, 2026, Milan. The final pairing of the women's 1,000 meters. Jutta Leerdam is about to answer every question anyone has ever asked about her. But you cannot understand what happened in Milan without understanding what she walked through to get there. To understand Jutta's story, you first need to understand what speed skating means in the Netherlands. This is not a niche sport there, it is closer to a religion. The Dutch have won over 140 Olympic medals in long track skating, more than any country on earth. They have 8 world-class indoor ovals, the United States has 2. There is a full professional league with real salaries, world-class coaches, and sports science that rivals anything in Formula 1. When a talented kid steps onto Dutch ice, a machine locks in around them that has been producing Olympic gold for decades. Jutta Leerdam stepped into that machine at 11 years old. Within 4 years, she had done something that would define the next 12 years of her life. At 15, she wrote down a single goal: not make the Olympic team, not win a medal. She wrote, become Olympic champion, and then she started delivering. At 17, she became World Junior Champion. At 18, she set 5 junior world records. The distance between her life and everyone else's was growing every season. She was asleep by 11 every night, training twice a day, 6 days a week, while her classmates were figuring out what it meant to be a teenager. That gap cost her. At school, she stood out in all the wrong ways: too tall, too athletic, too serious about something nobody her age understood. The bullying was real and it was constant. Most kids would have bent toward fitting in. Jutta went the other direction. She leaned harder into the ice because the rink was the one place where being different wasn't a problem, it was the entire point. The moment the skating world took notice came in February 2020. At the World Championships in Salt Lake City, Jutta was 21. She skated the 1,000 meters in 1 minute, 11.84 seconds. A Dutch national record. That time is still unbroken 6 years later. One race turned her from a promising talent into a world champion. And that's when the problem started. Her Instagram blew up. Past 1 million, then 3 million, then 5 million followers. Nike signed her, then Red Bull, then Hugo Boss, then Dior, then Omega. She became the most followed speed skater in history, and one of the most visible winter sport athletes alive. Now, in most countries, that would be celebrated, but not in the Netherlands. There is a Dutch cultural code called doe normaal. It means act normal. Don't make yourself bigger than the group. It is the unwritten rule that governs how athletes are expected to behave. And here was Jutta Leerdam, building a global brand, appearing on billboards across Europe, signing deals that had nothing to do with skating. The old guard looked at the follower count and decided she was not serious. The more famous she got, the less they trusted her. It did not matter that she was training harder than ever. The story about her had already been written by people who had never laced up a skate. The 2022 Beijing Olympics were supposed to end the debate, the 1,000 meter final. Jutta was in the race of her life, skating at a pace that would have won gold in every previous Olympics. And then, with roughly 1 lap remaining, her hand brushed the ice, a tiny loss of balance, a fraction of a second lost. She crossed the finish line in 1 minute 13.83 seconds. Japan's Takagi Miho had crossed in 1 minute 13.19 seconds, 0.6 of a second. That is the distance between Olympic glory and the question that follows you home: what if I had not slipped? What nobody watching that race knew was that her 5-year relationship with Koen Verwedge, who doubled as her coach and training partner, had been collapsing throughout the entire Olympic season. They split 6 months later. She came home from Beijing carrying a silver medal and a life that looked nothing like the one she had left with. And the question that had followed her since the fame started was still there, louder than ever. Can she actually win when everything is on the line? After Beijing, she joined Team Jumbo-Visma, the biggest squad in Dutch skating. 2 seasons later, they let her go, and they did it publicly. Sven Kramer, the most decorated male speed skater in history and now the team's director, told the press she lacked commitment, that she was not bigger than the team. In Dutch skating, losing your team is not just losing a logo on your suit, it is losing your coaching staff, your training facility, your physiotherapist, your salary, the entire structure that makes elite performance possible. Most skaters who leave that system do not come back. Jutta reached back to the coach who had built her into a world champion, assembled a bare-bones international training group, and competed under Team Cafra, a squad so small most Dutch fans had never heard of it. The establishment stepped back and waited for her to collapse. Then the story exploded beyond skating entirely. In 2023, Jutta started dating Jake Paul. He was an American boxer and YouTuber, one of the most polarizing figures on the internet. He proposed in March 2025. And from that moment, every conversation about Jutta Leerdam fundamentally changed. She stopped being a speed skater who happened to be famous and became a celebrity who happened to skate. Every competition result was buried under the headline about her fiancé. Dutch media treated the relationship like a betrayal of sporting culture. International outlets barely mentioned the skating at all. And the whole time this media circus was spinning, she was still on the ice before sunrise every morning, still chasing the same goal she had written down at 15 years old. Nobody was paying attention to that part. December 26th, 2025, Dutch Olympic trials, the 1,000 meters, her signature event, the race she needed to qualify directly for Milan. Second bend, she lost her edge. She hit the boards, she did not finish. 12 years of work came down to a phone call. Dutch Olympic qualification is brutal. If you do not finish the trial race, you do not earn your spot. The federation has the power to grant discretionary selections, but only under extraordinary circumstances. So the woman who had won a world championship in this event, who had won Olympic silver in this event, who was the reigning European sprint champion, went home and waited. She had no idea if she would even get to race in Milan. The federation selected her, and that is when she made a series of choices that turned the Dutch sporting press against her completely. She chartered a private jet to Milan while her teammates boarded a commercial flight in economy. She did not walk in the opening ceremony. Days before the 1,000 meters, she pulled out of a scheduled national television interview, the kind of appearance Dutch athletes are expected to make. A veteran television pundit went on air and called her a terrible diva. The loudest voices in Dutch sport had made up their minds about Jutta Leerdam long before she had touched the ice in Milan, and she decided she did not owe any of them an explanation. February 9th, Milano Speed Skating Stadium, sea level ice. Women's 1,000 meters, Jutta drew the last of 20 pairings. Opposite lane, defending Olympic champion Takagi Miho. That meant she would watch every other skater go first, including the one rival who had beaten her more than anyone over the past 2 years. In the 13th pair, Dutch teammate Femke Kok put down 1 minute 12.59 seconds, a new Olympic record. The arena erupted. Kok sat in the leader's chair. The time was on the board, and now Jutta had to beat it, knowing the entire world was watching. Knowing every critic had a take ready to publish no matter what happened. She stepped to the start line. Somewhere in the stands, Jake Paul was watching. Across the Netherlands, the same pundits who had called her a diva were watching. Every doubt, every headline, every year of noise compressed into the next 72 seconds. The gun fired. 200-meter opening, 17.6. Fast. Second lap, 26.5, the fastest in the entire field. The arena shifted. People knew something was happening. Final lap, 28.6, also the fastest. She crossed the line. 1 minute, 12.31 seconds, Olympic record, gold medal. The fastest 1,000 meters ever skated at sea level. And this is where the story turns. Because she didn't celebrate. Not yet. She sprinted across the ice to Femke Kok, whose record had survived 90 seconds, and embraced her before she celebrated herself. The woman they'd called a diva chose sportsmanship before glory. Her coach called the race a work of art.